I know that in your classroom, you've been reading and writing and doing a lot of work for a really long time, and school is almost over, right? And so some of you might be feeling like, reading more. I just can't do it, right? But I want to teach you a strategy that's going to help you maybe add a little fun to the work that you're doing in your reading, but also help you understand the text that you're reading the best that you can, okay? And that strategy is bring the text to life, okay? You're going to bring the text to life. And we can do this in our fiction reading, like stories, okay? Your fantasies, your mysteries, your short stories you're reading, and we can do this with informational text, okay? Your nonfiction, your expository text, any informational text, okay? And I want to show you what that looks like. So Evan shared with me that you were reading Flat Stanley as a read aloud. And so I found a part and I flagged it, because you're going to do that today. I found a part and I flagged it where I could, in my mind first, talk and act like the character. Okay? I want to talk and act just like the character, because that's going to help me understand what's happening in my story. Okay, so watch me as I show you what that looks like. Okay? Breakfast was ready. I will go wake the boys, Mrs. Lambchop said to her husband, George Lambchop. Just then her younger son, Arthur, called from the bedroom he shared with his brother, Stanley. Hey, come in, look. Hey. Mr. and Mrs. Lambchop were both very much in favor of politeness and careful speech. Hay is for horses, Arthur, not people, Mr. Lambchop said as they entered the bedroom. Try to remember that. Excuse me, Arthur said, but look. He pointed to Stanley's bed. Across it lay the enormous bulletin board that Mr. Lambchop had given the boys a Christmas ago so that they could pin up pictures and messages and maps. It had fallen during the night on top of Stanley. But Stanley was not hurt. In fact, he would still have been sleeping if it had not been woken by his brother's shout. What's going on here? He called out cheerfully from beneath the enormous board. Mr. and Mrs. Lambchop hurried to lift it from the bed. Heavens, said Mrs. Lambchop. Gosh, said Arthur, Stanley's flat. As a pancake, said Mr. Lambchop. Darndest thing I've ever seen. Okay, so now as a reader, I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to think in my mind. I'm talking. A bulletin board just fell on Stanley. He's not hurt. He's flat. That's strange, isn't it? So now if I go back and act this out, right? I have to think about how I'm going to be that character Arthur. I'm going to be the character Arthur when he first comes in the morning. Okay, so I'm going to set this down here. And he says, hey, come look, Mom, Dad, hey. Come look, you have to look. Stanley is under the board. Right? I'm acting like Arthur, because if you came into your room and you noticed that your brother was under a board and flattened, right, you might be really alarmed. Now, maybe at that point he didn't even know he was flat, but still, if you opened up your eyes and your sibling was under a big bulletin board, wouldn't you be alarmed and a little worried, right? So he's saying, hey, come look. So I'm acting like the little brother Arthur. Okay? Now I want to show you in my book, My Worm Farm, how you can do this just the same way with informational text. In our minds, we talk and act like the information. Okay, so I'm going to read this little part. Have my Post-it note there, because you're going to be doing this. You're going to be putting a flag where you in your mind say, hey, I can act this out. I can do this. I can show my partner what this looks like by talking and acting it out. Worms do not like rain. They can drown in a heavy rain because they breathe through their skin. When it rains, worms try to escape to higher ground. I'm going to read a little further. Worms do not like to get too hot. In the summer, the worms must be kept moist in the beds because they become too dry. The worms can die. Okay, so there's two things there that I'm thinking in my mind that I can act out as a reader, talk and act out. So the worms first, underground, the worms are all underground, and now this big rainstorm is coming. I'm acting this out, I'm my own little play. And now I'm a worm, and I'm down here and I'm saying, oh no, it's raining. I have to escape to higher ground. And I'm trying to get up to the higher ground, right? And we said that we can even add our own knowledge in informational text, because I know we've already gone through that unit of study, right? And my own knowledge is, hey, I get that because I see all the worms on my driveway after a rain, right? Now that second piece of information, how can I act that out? Because the first one seemed easy. I could be the worm escaping. I don't want to drown. But let's see, a worm getting too hot and shriveling and dying because they don't have enough moisture. So they're down underground, and I'm picturing myself being hot. It's so hot in here. It's so hot. I think I'm going to die. I need some moisture. Worms need moisture. I seem like a worm that was really kind of needing moisture, right? Moisture, like I need water. My skin needs water. And I'm going to shrivel and die if I don't get moisture. That's what it said. That's what the information said about keeping a worm farm. Okay, keep that to yourself for just right now. So now you guys are going to try this. So let's try it with the informational text first. I'm going to read a little part. I flagged it just like you'll do. And then you're going to talk and act it out for your partner. Okay? This is penguins. Swimming. Penguins are excellent swimmers. They can't fly in the air, but they use their small wings, like flippers, to fly underwater. We're in informational text. Talk to your partner and act out the information you heard. Let's see you acting it out. Okay, go ahead. Right. So how are you guys going to act this out? It says they can't fly in the air, but they use their small wings like flippers to fly underwater. What would that look like?
For like if they can't fly.
What are you going to act like? I see some people acting like them. What are you going to act like?
Like if they're like not flying.
Listen to the information. They can't fly in the air, but they use their small wings like flippers to fly underwater. So think about that, and you guys go ahead and act it out for each other. Okay. What are you guys thinking?
I said that they would just dive in and be like this.
And I see your small flippers. I see your small flippers. Okay. How'd you guys act this out?
I was thinking like that penguin like diving underwater.
Okay, so show me what that looked like if we're acting it out.
Flapping its wings to go quicker to get going.
Okay, and I like how you had like little wings, right? Little wings. Kayla, did you have little wings?
Yeah.
Yeah, little wings. Okay. All right, 1, 2, 3. Eyes back on me, and I'm just going to keep the microphone here because I'm going to take it off again. I saw lots of neat little acts going on. I saw little wings next to your body. I saw some people diving with their heads, right? And I saw some people going like this, like they had little wings in front of them as they were flying through the water. You were thinking in your mind first and then talking and acting like the information, okay? And I drew a little picture here so you would always remember. That's me as a worm. And it says, I'm a worm. Oh no, it's raining. I have to go up. See, and here's my partner that I'm acting out the information for, okay? Let's try it then with the fictional text, okay? With the Stanley text, okay? So I'm going to just read this little part where Mrs. Lambchop is on the street with a shoelace, and the policemen come up to her, and they basically ask her what she's doing. You remember the story, right? Because Mrs. Pete already read it to you. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, her favorite ring, right, fell from her finger, and it rolled across the sidewalk down between the bars of the grating and it was covered with a deep, dark shaft. Mrs. Lambchop began to cry. Okay, so the two policemen come over, and they say, what's the matter, lady? The first policeman asked, is your yo-yo stuck? I am not playing with a yo-yo, Mrs. Lambchop said sharply. My son is at the other end of this lace, if you must know. Get the net, Harry, said the second policeman. We have caught a cuckoo. Just then, down the shaft, Stanley cried out, hooray! Mrs. Lambchop pulled him up and saw that he had the ring. Good for you, Stanley, she said. Then she turned angrily to the policeman. A cuckoo indeed, she said. Shame. The policeman apologized. We didn't get it, lady, they said. We have been hasty. We see that now. Okay, so now that scene, okay, with Stanley down in the grate. Let's see you act out the fictional text with your partner. Okay, turn, talk, act. Okay, got through here.
Then, and then and so she's letting him run there. And he's like, I got it. I got it.
Oh. Okay, and I saw that you were even crying like Mrs. Lambchop at the beginning of this scene. Okay, so you were really acting that out. Okay. All right. So 1, 2, 3. Eyes back on me. I think, that really what I saw is I saw people crying like Mrs. Lambchop. I saw people pulling the lace up through their hands. So I saw a lot of gestures of you acting out the information. Here's your job today. In your own reading, okay, in your very own reading, it can be from your own book crate, okay, your magazine file. It can be from some of the books I brought into your classroom that are spread across your desk. I brought fiction and I brought informational. I want you to read an entire story or an entire text of informational because they're really short. As you're reading, think to yourself, can I flag this page so that I can act out this part of information or act out this scene for my partner? That's how we're thinking today. What about my reading can I act out to help with the understanding of the text that I've read? And this is the way that we'll bring our text to life. Okay, we're going to bring our text to life. So we'll have our quiet reading time where we're flagging, looking for places where we can bring the text to life in our fiction and informational. And if you can find a place in both fiction and informational, great. If you only find a place in fiction, fine. That's all right. Only find a place in informational, fine. That's okay. Okay? Depends on what the kind of paced reader you are and how much time we have. Okay? But you might actually have time to try it in both. And then I'll stop you guys and we'll get together in partnerships and we'll do some of our acting out from our flagged pages. Okay? All right, so off you go. Go ahead to your reading places. You can leave that rolling. Yeah. Because we'll just get them moving. Yeah, Justin. Yeah.
Can we see how the area was?
Well, probably not today, but how about if I bring it back another time? Okay?
Are we writing our name on our flag because if we're gonna pass the books around?
Oh, you could probably do that. That's a good thing. Yeah. I'll make a little announcement about that. Yeah. What? Oh, it's all right. I can always kind of fuzz them out of. You can help me with that. Okay, so I like how people are already quietly at their seats, getting themselves settled. Okay, and I think it was Chloe who said, we might want to put our initials or our name on our Post-it note if we read a book and then we set it back on the table and somebody else reads it. Okay, so that's kind of a good idea if you think that someone else might want to read it. The other thing might be that if you actually really use a lot of Post-its in one book, nobody's going to mind if you put that book in the corner of your desk because there's a lot of them out there. Okay? All right. Justin, thank you. Did you find something? These I was going to use for. Yeah, you can take that one with you. Sure. My cords are here. I think where I'll go is over here. You guys are so close together. Oh, you're fine. Yeah. I'm just gonna bring this down. Okay, Evan, I'm noticing that you have a number of Post-its already in your book, and we haven't even been reading for very long. Would you mind telling me the places where you flagged, parts you were thinking about?
The first part I was thinking about was Froggy's getting dressed for his soccer game, and he's getting on his soccer shorts, his shin guards. He's putting on his soccer jersey. He's putting on his socks, and he's putting on his cleats.
Okay, and were you thinking, because I'm already thinking, I can see why you chose that, were you thinking, this is something that I could act out for my partner, getting dressed in this fashion? Okay, I can see that.
And then Froggy's dad's the assistant coach, and they have to leave now because they have to be early because the dad's the assistant coach.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I want to stop you here for a minute. So this added piece of information, you flagged this part. Tell me what you were going to demonstrate or act out for this page.
Like Froggy's dad calling him, like, Froggy.
Okay. All right. Now, something I'm thinking about, and maybe you've already thought about this, is that the way in which you get dressed with this new information.
You would get dressed faster.
Okay, you get dressed faster. And so as we read forward, we may actually learn some things about our character and the way they do things with new information.
And the game, it's to win the City Cup.
Okay, so this is a big deal game. Okay, so you actually, Evan, have helped me uncover something that I didn't really share with the class yet. And that's this whole idea that the way that you act out the scenes or what's going on in your book has a lot to do with what's actually going on in the story, like the big deal of the story. And that's actually something that I might want to teach the entire class. So you helped me see that. So really, if I play this out in my mind, you read this first page over here about him getting dressed. And then getting dressed. And then you turned the page and learned that his dad was the assistant coach and that they had this big game for the City Cup. So really, readers might have to go back and do some rereading with that in mind, like holding that big idea in mind, like, oh my gosh, this is a big game. This is the City Cup game. So the way in which he's getting dressed and the way you act that out might change. Okay, thank you for helping me see that, because I'm going to actually share that with other kids and other readers. Okay, thank you. All right, so I heard, Lane, you talking with Kayla about what you guys were doing, and it looked like both of you were reading in the same book, because I see Lane's flags and I see Kayla's flags, and I heard Lane ask you, Kayla, what are we doing? Can you explain what we're doing again, right? So he was looking for some clarification, but it looks like he's flagged some pages. Lane, would you tell me a little bit about what you flagged? I'm going to come around, okay, so that we can get you over here. Okay, tell me about what you flagged.
I flagged this one of me, like, hiding and waiting for, like, prey to float, or, like, food to float around for me to eat.
Okay, so what I'm noticing right away, Lane, is that my lesson was teaching you to pay attention to the words that the author was writing, and you've not just paid attention to the words in the paragraphs, but you're also paying attention to the words in the captions and in the photographs. So what were you thinking you could act out for your partner based on that part of the text?
Wait, what do you mean? Like, which one is sticky note I could act out?
Yeah.
On this page, what were you thinking you were going to act out? I noticed that you have this page flat, and you were pointing to the little seahorse here. It says seahorses wait for food to float
Well, I
by.
could just be like crouching, and then when something comes by me, I could like run at it or something.
Okay, all right, so you've already thought about the way in which you're going to act that out. You know, something else that I could teach you, Lane, is to make sure that when you're acting that out, you give as many words as you can about the topic. So, for example, I'm not going to use yours because I'm going to ask you to try that. So, for example, if I was going to use the sea turtle, it says sea turtles have flippers shaped like paddles. This helps them swim. And so if I'm going to act that out, I'm already thinking, okay, I might make my arm like a flipper, but like more like a paddle with a flat hand, right? And have the swimming motion. But I'm also going to tell my partner, with as many words as I can, what the text was telling me. So I'm going to say, sea turtles have flippers like paddles, and they use those paddles to help them swim. And actually, their flippers are shaped like a paddle. Do you see how I added more words, as many words as I could? All right, try that. If I was your partner and you were going to act out this portion of the seahorse and give as many words as you could, what would you also explain?
Maybe how the food tastes or something.
Do the words tell you how the food tastes? Remember, we're really going to focus in on those words on the page. So
Just
maybe
those?
reread it, and think to yourself, what would I tell somebody about those words?
Just those words?
Yeah, sure. So now use your own words and as many as you can think of that goes with that topic. What would you tell your partner while you're acting out that seahorse?
So I was like crouching down and like in a corner, and then when something would float by, I would just go at it.
Okay, and what would the something be? What would they know?
It doesn't say.
No, but it does give a more precise word. What does it say they're waiting for?
Pray.
Okay, see, there's like that scientific word, pray. So could you think of a way that you could include this word pray or this
I
word
could wait
food?
for pray to float by.
I could wait for, okay, so I'm crouching down, I'm this little seahorse, and I'm waiting for prey to float by, right? And then your partner might say, what's prey? And then you could explain to them. What would you say?
Well, it's like kind of food.
Yeah, it's their food because the author uses that word also, right? Okay, so when you're with your partner today, not only acting out the seahorse, but try to include as many words as you can, your own words too, but words from the text to help explain what you're acting out, right? Because we're talking and acting at the same time. Okay, thank you. Can I use this for a minute? Because I'm going to do that midway. I'm going to interrupt for a minute. I'm going to leave this right here. Now come, let me just write it down. I wrote an informational text. Okay, I'm just going to leave that right here. All right, readers, I'm just going to interrupt you for a minute. You're doing such a nice job of keeping our classroom quiet and really focused. I was just working with Lane, and he found a part in his text. He's reading informational text, and he wasn't just using the words running down the white part of the page. And we know that in informational text, that every word on that page becomes important. And his eye moved over to the caption and the photograph that was there. And he thought to himself, based on what I've read, I'll read it to you. It says, seahorses wait for food to float by. Other creatures chase their prey. And as he thought about it, he said to me, I can act like that seahorse and crouch down and pretend that I'm hiding and waiting for something to float by. And then I said to Lane, you know what? Instead of using the word something, let's try and use as many words as we can that come from the text to also talk about what we're acting out, right? So he completely changed his explanation. You know what he said? He said, well, I would crouch down and act like that seahorse, and then I would say, I'm being this little seahorse, and I'm waiting and hiding, and I'm waiting for some prey to float by. And I said, yeah, see, now that's words right from the text that the author used. And then your partner might even have to say, what's prey? right? Because that's a little scientific. And he knew exactly what to say to answer that question. Okay, so he was staying really close to the text. So if you haven't tried this yet, finding in your fictional and in your informational text places where you can act out and also explain what you're acting. Okay, keep reading and looking for those spots as you read forward. Okay. Justin, I'm noticing that you're here reading, but I've noticed that you don't have any post-its in the book that you're reading. A bald eagle goes fishing.
Well, the bald eagle, it wants to eat a fish.
So you already read the book? You read it?
Yes.
You learned that he wanted to catch a fish. He wanted to eat a fish. I'm wondering if you remember our lesson. Oh, thank you. If you remember our lesson, we were looking for places where we could put a little flag so that we could act out a part of our text.
Right.
Did you find a place in your text?
Yes, I think it was right here. Yeah, it was right here.
Okay, so explain.
Page 2.
Explain to me what you were thinking, what you would act out.
That I'm a bald eagle flying in the sky trying to catch something.
Okay, all right. And so if you remember, if I find a place where I can act it out, what am I going to do as a reader today? If that's okay, what am I going to do as a reader if I find a place? I know you like my microphone. What are you going to do as a reader when you find a place?
Well, I'm gonna flag it.
Okay, you're going to flag it. Okay, so here's your flags. So show me where you're going to put that. And I recommend that you leave them sticking up a little. Quickly get with your partner and you'll know exactly where that spot is. Okay?
Yeah.
You knew exactly what to do, right?
Right.
Been reading for a little while here, and maybe you just forgot to put your flag in. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I speak with this to the class?
Not at this moment. Just until you can talk into it though, and tell me what are you going to do next?
I'm gonna read the next page.
Okay. And what is your thinking going to?
That he's flying around.
Okay.
That he's flying around.
What are you going to do as a reader?
I'm going to read it. Oh wait,
You're going to read it. You're going to do 2 jobs. You're going to read it and
write it.
we're not doing any writing. What are we doing? What's on your desk?
Flag it.
Okay. So tell me again, what are you going to be doing as a reader? You're going to read it and
Write it. Flag it.
flag it. Read it and flag it. Okay. All right. So I'm going to be meeting with a small group over here, but I'm going to be watching you. You'll see my eyes looking at you to see if, in fact, I see you picking up the flags and flagging new places in your text that you could act out to a partner. Okay?
Okay.
All right. I'll be watching. Okay.
Can you please not move that thing?
Oh, you know what? I have to move it so we can get my small group in here. But I'm gonna make them
You can move it that. You can move it that way. So you. Thank you. You can move it that way.
Thanks. I'm going to move. Grant, can I move? Oh. Well, I'll kind of pass it around. Oh, okay, thanks for joining me guys here. Let me clean this up a little bit because we have a lot going on and I have something. Oh, and good, you brought your informational text that I asked you to bring. Okay, so we're working in informational text and in fictional text, and the lesson was about how we can act out portions of our text, right, to a partner and give some words to that act, kind of like an actor or actress, right? something else that I can teach you, because I can see that work was really easy for you guys. I came around and you all had places in your fiction or your informational text where you had already flagged, and we talked a little bit about what you would do in those places, okay? So I want to add a little more teaching to the work that you're doing. And something, I have a little posted here that I'm just going to leave on the table. It says, use gestures to help you visualize the facts. And then it says, gesture to a partner. So when I'm reading, sometimes, where's my little worm book? Sometimes I'm thinking about how I can show with my hands and my face and my arms, okay, what the text is really saying to me, okay? And where's my little portion I was going to use for demonstration? Okay, so let me demonstrate for you what this might look like if we were going to use gestures to help us visualize the facts. So my text says, worms do not like light. At night, they like to travel. So the worm farmer puts garden lights around the beds to stop them from getting out, right? Because this book is about how to keep a worm farm. And so that's mean, but this is how to keep a worm farm.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But remember, the worms are helping her make compost and get rid of her garbage and keep the environment safe.
If they die, it's hot.
Well, no, remember, as long as she keeps the farm with the elements that the farm needs, they're not going to die, right? Okay, so back to my demonstration. Gestures, right? Think our minds on gestures for remembering the facts, right? So let me see this again. Worms do not like light at night. They like to travel. So the farmer puts lights around the beds to stop them from getting out. All right, so if I think about some gestures to explain this, I might say worms, right? Worms do not like light. They don't like the light, they like the darkness, and so I might cover my eyes. And then the farmer puts out the lights, so the worms have to stay in the farm. And do you see how my gestures are? They're going to stay in the farm. Okay.
Where?
Yep. Well, stay. So you might have better gestures that would work for this. Okay. What I want you guys to do is see if you can find in your informational text. Read a little bit, and I do have flags. See if you can find a new spot where you could use your hands or your body in a way to gesture to remember the facts. Oh, you already found yours? Okay, so must be an easy read for you. Okay, go around and see. Oh, here's some flags over here, Noah. See if you can find a spot.
They're baby scorpions.
Okay, so was this just interesting to you, or is this
It
a
was
part?
disgusting.
Okay, or is this a part where you could use gestures?
I could not.
Well, think about it. Read that, and think about what gestures you might be able to read or use based on that reading. Okay, so it sounds like Grant read that part too. Think about it.
They're disgusting, guys. Look at it. It's torture.
Okay, let them think about their places where their gestures might help them explain. Okay, looks like Jen found a spot.
Oh, I found it.
You found a spot? Okay, so when you found a spot, I'm going to ask you to turn and talk to just an elbow buddy. And so we'll have you two talk, and maybe Rix, you turn towards these two. Okay, and the three of you can talk since we're an odd number. So go ahead, Jen, why don't you start first using gestures?
The worm is not like the parents because it's smaller and it will get bigger.
Okay, so I saw that little gesture. Let's do it again because it went by really fast. Look at her gesture.
To grow like the parents.
Okay, so you're using your hands. It's smaller and it's going to get bigger to grow. Okay, go ahead. Who would like to try their gestures in this group?
Okay. It could be like on here it says chapter 2, I see you, and then the eyes could be like I have a very I have like a very good eyesight, like you can see like from a mile away.
Okay, so let's see your gesture again. What would you do for your gesture? How would you use your hands or your arms or your body to explain that? I saw you for a minute do this. Is that what you were going to do?
Yeah.
Okay, so that they have really good eyes that can see from a mile away. Okay, all right, let's hold up your here?
Mine was like they have thick, waterproof feathers, and they have like this hard beak
Oh, I see your gesture. Okay,
and
so
webbed
gesture.
feet. And then they have short little wings for flappers.
Okay, all right. Okay, and I saw you guys over here gesturing, even though I didn't get to hear exactly what you were doing. Okay, so do you see how this can work to help you remember the facts? Yeah. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to not just add on this whole acting thing for you guys, I want you to also find places where you can add gestures to the talk with your partners, okay? All right, so go ahead and continue this work, because no matter what you're reading, adding gesturing will help you remember what it is you're reading about, okay? All right, you can go ahead and head back.
Hey, readers, heads up for a minute. You've been reading for a really long time, which is great, and the class has been so quiet. I worked with a few people during conferences, and we pushed our thinking a little bit in ways to act out and what to look for in the text. And now is your opportunity to choose a book or two, if you feel like you need to choose one or two, and you're going to get with your partner. And I'll know that you've done the work when I see your body moving and acting in the way your text has asked you to be thinking. Okay, so go ahead and partner up. And you can sit anywhere around the room.